Hello again. Welcome to this week's recap.
Hello to all of you.
This week, the focus has been on socio-economic change. We have seen a lot of interesting discussions, and the 100 x 100 challenge is also becoming more and more elaborate. For example, I really enjoyed the discussions focusing on renewable energy integrations and the article that Gerald Levi Johnson shared.
We asked you to fill in the 5 social economic challenges that affect you most in your daily life. Some words that clearly stand out are unemployment, education, pollution, transportation, poverty, and corruption is also mentioned often.
Roberto, how do you see this outcome?
These words come as no surprise to me. Poverty is certainly the main challenge around the world, and the gap between rich and poor continues to increase almost everywhere, even in Europe. Most importantly, poverty is morally unacceptable in a world where technological advances have made so much possible in the last decades.
Being poor means, among other things, that you don't have access to opportunities to get out of poverty.
Yes, poverty affects us all, even when it happens very far away, because it has consequences for the economy, the environment, and the quality of our democracies.
Is there a role for metropolitan innovators?
Yes, they must address excessive inequality, since it's morally unacceptable and not sustainable in the long run.
And what are the tools they can use?
Well, in my opinion, education, good mobility systems, and a prosperous economy are obviously very effective tools for the redistribution of resources and the creation of fair cities. These are all areas in which metropolitan innovators have a huge responsibility.
Carlos from Mexico wrote that his daily life is mostly influenced by the political disorder in his city. According to Carlos, in his hometown, some politicians are corrupt and crime rates are high. He also mentioned the instability of the exchange rate of the peso and the dollar.
Thank you so much for sharing your observations, Carlos. Governance takes place in legal or formal frameworks. Remember that the rule of law regulates how the private sector, the public sector, and civil society interact with each other, for example, in projects. It also takes place in informal frameworks. Every country has its own ways of doing things.
Is the role of informal institutions a positive or a negative one?
Some informal institutions are very positive. The culture of openness, warmth, and cooperation that characterizes many countries must be cultivated and enhanced. However, some informal institutions may bring a negative dimension to how we build governance relationships. Patronage, nepotism, and corruption are some examples.
We must combat corruption at all costs.
Yes, but we need to know when it's there, to formulate mechanisms that will allow us to make processes more transparent and actors more accountable, both public and private actors. The notion of open government goes in that direction.
Roberto, please explain.
Well, if citizens can see online how budgets are being spent, for example, it becomes slightly less likely that funds will be misspent. Participatory budgeting is on the rise everywhere. Remember, metropolitan innovators like you, Carlos, have to invent new ways for people to participate or to oversee decision-making processes that affect their own lives.
There is another post I would like to discuss here, from Rick from California, who highlights the overdrawing of the water table and unsustainable use of water in his region. Drought shaming is an issue, but abuse of water often happens away from the public eye. Government agencies resist media access to public records that could bring this abuse to light, due to threats of legal action for violation of privacy by wealthy, politically connected abusers.
Well, this is a very complex issue that is becoming even more urgent because of climate change. Effective water management is crucial everywhere. Many places have solid governance arrangements in place. in which stakeholders from across the board in some way participate in the decision-making process, helping achieve better, fairer, and more acceptable solutions for managing water resources.
Please explain how this is organized.
Well, river basin committees involving different kinds of stakeholders are common in Europe and Brazil, for instance. Funnily enough, this is not a new solution to ensure fairness in water management. Traditional cultures in Latin America, Asia, and Africa have similar arrangements that involve actors from different sectors of society.
And why is it important to involve different stakeholders?
This is important because technicians don't always know what common people know. The knowledge of those who use water is very important, even if they are not experts. This is one of the main goals of governance arrangements, to collect and organize different kinds of knowledge that is usually not heard.
What is the role for metropolitan innovators?
Well, they must be able to communicate with a vast range of stakeholders and actors to be able to access their knowledge and incorporate it in decision-making processes. This has to do with the quality of solutions, but also with the quality of our democracies.
Thank you, Roberto. This links to next week's topic on climate change. This will be interesting for Rick, as well as for many other participants.
We challenge you to come up with sustainable urban solutions addressing real problems of governance for your own urban area.
Please stay active in the forum. On behalf of the AMS MOOC team, thanks again for all your input. We'll see you next week.